All right, guys, I am on a roll today because I'm going to be away from my computer for a week or more, and I just keep coming across amazing videos from other people's channels. And as you can see from the tabs at the top of my screen, I mean, there's just so much that I'm trying to cover because the truth is just pouring out everywhere, like all this evidence of high strangeness all around us. And I am loving every minute of it because that's what I thrive on, is the weirdest tales. So I came across this YouTube channel that is called That Is Impossible. And you guys can go and subscribe to this, but he covers this insanely strange videos that were caught outdoors. And it's pretty fascinating. Of course, there's some Sasquatch video coverage and some other things, but in this one, it's kind of like they're covering a Nessie type of monster. Now, this is in Canada, so it might be related to the Ogopogo stories, but these people are just kayaking on the lake, and all of a sudden, this huge thing is there, and its back emerges from the water, and this thing is enormous. So I'm just going to play this without the sound so that my video doesn't get flagged for anything. But here we go. Yeah, she's paddling along, and he's describing the narrative about what these people encounter. This is in Ontario. And they're just out on the lake having a good time. And all of a sudden, they start seeing something underneath the water that starts creating this wake. But the back of this thing is what you get to see. You kind of see like the humps that they talk about, like with Nessie in the Loch Ness Monster stories. This woman started getting really dizzy, and it was kind of freaking her out, but she started videoing again. And here, look at what she videoed. Look at this. What is that? That's like spine or something. It's weird. And honestly, it starts to again tie into the story of Yggdrasil. What in the world? Hold on. We gotta see this. I'm writing you this time because of your last video. This is Christine, and I was wondering if you could take a look at the video. I think it shows the same creature Taylor and her friend caught on camera. Well, let's look at this thing. What the heck is this? I must have missed this part, but look at this. What is that? They've got a crab claw in their hand, and they're holding this thing. It has many mouths, and it's clamping down on the first thing that its mouth touches. But this is another example of the hybridization program that they have been creating in all these labs. What the heck is this? It's got multiple heads. Look, it's got like tiny little eyes right here. That is just weird. I mean, it looks like some sort of eel because it's got an eel-like body. But are all these heads like attached? Are they all attached to one unit, or is this guy holding a handful of these things? I mean, I don't know. Are they trying to recreate dragons? Because as we know, Jurassic Park is a thing, but what they're not telling us about dinosaurs is that they were actually dragons, and that would lend the credibility to the story of the legends of dragons. And they don't want people thinking about dragons. They want to relabel them as something else. Wow, that's weird. Look at that thing. Anyway.
This happens. Check this out.
So now this is some Asian people, and they were witnessing this thing swimming through the water in another lake. And obviously this thing is enormous. I don't know why people can't hold their camera steady. It's really weird. Now look at that. I mean, what is that? Okay, so maybe that was in South America or something. I didn't really get a sense of where that was. I thought it was Asian, but this is happening more and more, all of these strange creatures that are emerging. And this is continuing in the video. These people who are just in like a construction aspect of their work, they stop and they witnessed this huge thing emerging from the water and splashing in this lake. And what they showed over here on the side, over here is a highway, and these tiny little things are cars on the highway. So they wanted to show you, when they showed that little arrow, they wanted to show the size of this thing in the water versus, see, here's the length of this splash that's happening right now. And then way over here is the highway of cars. So they show you the size of this thing in reference to what the highway of cars looks like. And the cars are just traveling along over here. That thing was enormous. And it's unfortunate that people get such shaky hands whenever they're filming this kind of stuff. But I will leave the link to this in the video. Look at this thing. What is that? I think we're dealing with serpents, y'all. Sea monster type serpents. Here's a closer version of that. And as you can see, what was that? It looked like the luck dragon, if you know what I'm talking about, with the never-ending story. Look at this thing. Why does it have all of these hairs on it? And why aren't they showing the head, for one thing? Funny how they find this stuff in other countries, you know. Why aren't we seeing more evidence of these creatures in the United States of America? And maybe this is America, but you know, it's always some foreign nation where these things are found. They are finding them everywhere, though, right now. That's that thing coming out of the water, closer version. It makes you kind of be afraid of something swimming in the water like that. Like that guy who was diving just then. But I wanted to show you this amazing part of this next video. Okay. Well, this is pretty good too, actually. This is showing the different sinkholes that are opening up from the ground. And these people decide to attach their iPhone to a drone and lower it down into the water that is emerging from the sinkhole. Now, let's see what that is. What is this? That looks like a fan or something. What is that? It's something spinning in the dirt. That's weird. So these things are just opening up. And I still feel like Yggdrasil is what we need to focus on. Oh, listen, there's some good stuff coming up on this video. You guys have got to go and watch this entire video because it's amazing the footage that people are compiling together to start bringing about truth. Okay, now here's the one, and I will play the sound on this one because I feel like this is important to listen to it. Let me get the sound on and we'll start this video here.
Straight out of this water, grass growing on the edges here. It's supposed to be about 140 to 180 degrees Fahrenheit, but it's super sick, literally in the middle of nowhere.
Takrax and his team carefully fly the phone into the sinkhole water, and this is what happens. For some mysterious reason, Takrax actually records what sounds like a demonic voice coming from within the sinkhole. Whatever this is, to this day it's a mystery, just like most of the rifts and sinkholes showing up all over the world.
Yeah, so that was weird, but you haven't seen weird until you've seen this one. This is crazy, and I give these people credibility for all of their shares. And if you guys have some strange phenomena, to share, and you don't have a platform to share it on, please, by all means, I will post things for you if you don't want to, have your name or face presented, because some people just don't want to be associated with this kind of weirdness. It leaves a lot to be to be imagined and sort of draw out the truth of these things. So watch this though. This is crazy. It's almost as if something is trying to emerge in our world, like some other crossover of reality, a portal or an aspect of some other realm is about to emerge in our realm. Now, this is a construction tunnel. They are doing work underground, but this is just, again, probably one of many strange occurrences that's happening underground in our world right now, because they are not telling us what all is happening, but we have to rely on each other to report these things. So watch this. This is just bizarre.
In 2018, engineers were repairing a tunnel in Medellin, Colombia, when they noticed this mysterious phenomenon and started recording it.
So it looks like it's something that's trying to manifest, honestly. And maybe it doesn't quite have enough power to manifest there. Or is it some sort of time loop warp thing? I mean, what's weird is somebody drives through the thing and it doesn't do anything. It has no effect on them. So what are we witnessing? I stated that the age of Aquarius was going to be weird, and that's why I labeled my channel the era of my ways. It's because I've always been weird, but this is really bizarre.
While some believe that this is some sort of interdimensional portal that was caught on camera, experts think that this is due to the water pressure building and pressing against the floor of the.
Yeah, I don't believe there's stupid theories of water pressure and, innate lies and just blowing off what the phenomena really is. You can't listen to these so-called scientists and professionals because they really are trying to cover up truth.
The tunnel. However, it only occurred once or twice, what makes it really strange. And to this day, the reason remains a complete mystery.
This guy drives right through this thing as it's sitting there morphing. I don't think I would
Now,
go
taking
anywhere
into
near it.
consideration that humans have only been able to.
Now look, it's fog. It's trying to manifest and it's foggy. Again, what are we looking at? Hey, there's a lot of fog in the Yggdrasil Norse mythology. In the lower realms, they have these realms that are like this. So I'm just saying, I wish people would look more into that Norse cosmology. It has too much truth to be dismissed.
To dig 12 kilometers deep into Earth's crust, the reasons for these mysterious rifts and sinkholes could be many. In Europe,
Yeah, well, that's not all that we see. I have seen this video before, and I'm going to go ahead and turn this volume off because we don't really need the volume in this, but you have to absolutely see this because what I'm learning out here by reading Franz Barden's Initiation into Hermetics is that we can absolutely do the things that we're about to witness in this video. And it is going to shock and shake the foundations of our world once people really start grasping all of this information. Hermetics is the teachings of the inner work, along with Kabbalah and meditations, all these things. That's all it is going within to find out who we truly are and what we can truly do. And when we do this, we're going to know the truth that we have a lot of power that they did not want us to know about. So watch this. Now, this is over in Russia, and this guy's dog starts running away because he realizes that there's other people in the woods. Now watch this, because I've seen this video, but it was a few years ago. And he's like trying to get his dog back. He calls to the dog, and then he sees this. This is a little girl, and this is her mother, and she is levitating. Probably practicing, thinking that, they were alone in the woods and that she could practice safely in this remote area all of her magical arts. And her mother's just watching, just observing. She was probably, coaxing her and telling her what to do and to focus on her energy, because that's all you do is you meditate and you become air on the inside. It's a focused meditation with breathing exercises, and you can do these things. So there she goes. She's not possessed, but this guy was freaked out. And then the girl's down on the ground. Next thing you see. And then they run away because they were being discovered. Now look at this guy. This guy is pushing over a semi tractor trailer thing. Really big cargo. But it's mind over matter. That's all we're dealing with. And this guy can sit for long hours in meditation and not be freezing to death. He even goes into the water and starts swimming. This guy too. It's all mind over matter. This person is levitating inside a fire ring. Again, focusing the mind. You can do these things. You become air, you become fire, you become water, you become the earth. This one seemed a little more hokey because this cup starts to wiggle. left and right, but it might not be, because these powers are real. Now watch this. This guy just walks up casually and goes, oh, I'll stop that. Boom. How did he know how to do that? Well, mind over matter. This is the stuff that they don't want us to know. That's why they're putting out all these superhero movies, because if you think that it's only fiction, then you won't believe that it's actually real. So Hollywood's trying to do a manipulation of the minds to put it out there first. And then when people see it out in the world, they'll be like, oh, that's just hocus pocus. That's bogus. That can't be real, because that's fake Hollywood stuff. So this woman, again, is levitating. And, they're all helping her. It actually looked like she was getting up from something that she was laying on. Now this girl says something and this guy gets pushed backwards. Is it an act? I don't know, but watch this. Is this real or is that fake? I don't know, but see this? The power of your subconscious mind. Joseph Murphy. These are the types of books that people are now coming in contact with, and they are actually being able to become superhuman. And that's why we have the Bill Gates trying to create the metaverse for people who want to be digitized into the artificial world of intelligence and to give their consciousness up into this superhumanness that they're going to be inventing real soon and dishing out, because they know we're coming into a time where we're going to come into our own awareness of our own innate abilities, and they want to hurry up and offer these abilities in a artificial intelligence format, so that people will get hooked on that first before they actually discover that they can do these things themselves without all that technology. That's what's going to be happening in the near future. Now, this is just an average guy, and he has a channel where he shows everybody all of his workout moves and, the things that he does to stay in this physical routine of, having all these muscles and things. But apparently he started putting on TikTok some of these things. And without really saying anything, he put up some of these books that he's read. Now, these books you can also find on YouTube. The Strangest Secret is actually on YouTube by Earl Nightingale, and it talks about the whole mind over matter thing, where your consciousness creates your reality. But then there's some other books here that he shows and shares with people that also can help you. Now, he's showing his routine, but he's also showing you how he levitates. He's doing push-ups without actually doing push-ups. And then people on TikTok were trying to do this, and they were falling down. I'm so sad for people that actually think that they can go and do this, without using some sort of mind over matter techniques. But they're trying to debunk it. It isn't green screen, blah, 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 blah. There's some people that actually try to go and do the exercise that he does, but he does it again against the brick wall. And it could be that he's, using his chi. So what I learned from watching some other videos is that you have to utilize the chi energy that's between like the base root chakra area of the groin and the belly button area, which is the sacral chakra area, that you can somehow use this energy that is there and utilize it to make things burn and to do all kinds of amazing things. And the initiation into hermetics with Franz Barden, the chapter that I'm on and just started tonight, after I found this video, you know, I was like, oh my gosh, this ties into what we're about to learn today. It teaches you about the deep meditations of the different elements, but you cannot do the elemental meditations until you can actually do these other focused concentration exercises with your mind. And it's using your imagination. So if you can't sit in silence without any thoughts for 1 hour as one of the first exercises, then you should not progress into these arts. Because if your mind and your body and your spirit are all out of balance, you can not only do harm to yourself, but you will do harm to others, whether intentional or not. And if you do harm to others intentionally, you will be backlashed with the universal laws of cause and effect. And so this is why it's so important to really lay a foundation of spiritual balance before we ever delve into these sort of practices. And so this guy just continues to show the things that he does. And then other people try to do what he does. And as you can see, I mean, he's levitating, but you don't have to strain yourself like this. I don't know why this guy is straining himself so much. It's just like what Yoda was saying. And I'll have to show you that in a minute. Like I just came across this image of a spiritual master, and you're not going to believe this stuff. But he does this again out in the middle of his yard instead of up against a wall. And he just starts to levitate again. You see how focused his vision is right now? Like he's not blinking and stuff. Because you do absolutely have to focus. And so he's going to do push-ups while he levitates. It's crazy. I'm excited because people are rediscovering inner power. And whether this is real or bunk, you know, is left to be determined. But other people tried to mimic what he was doing, and unfortunately, they weren't doing so well. It was kind of entertaining. He does it with a stick too. This is kind of crazy what he does here. So he takes the stick and he levitates the stick up off the ground. And if you can imagine, I mean, he's got to keep his body erect while he's focusing on being the air, basically. And we can all do this. This is the thing. This is not having to use, you know, demons to help us do these things. We can do this stuff ourselves if we just take the time to learn. Okay, so this next part, this is a different video. It's a video on YouTube called "This Found Book Raises Doubts About the Origins of Humankind." And when I saw this photo, I was like, oh my God, nothing out here in Hollywood is original, is all I have to say. Because Yoda is in this book. Watch
Number
this.
5, the Smithfield Decretals. This is the Smithfield Decretals, and for many years, people have been curious about the weird doodles in this medieval manuscript. But what exactly are the Smithfield Decretals? It's basically a copy of the Decretals of Pope Gregory IX with a gloss by Bernard of Parma. Originally, the Decretal is a collection of works of canon law that was made in 1230 by Saint Raymond of Peñafort under Pope Gregory IX's orders. So why exactly does it have these weird drawings that don't really have any connection to the texts? Apparently, the illustrations were added by a group of illustrators that were commissioned by an anonymous.
Now look at this. Doesn't that look like Yoda? Except he has webbed hands. Very strange indeed. And why were all those rabbits, doing violent, weird acts? It's just weird.
Person in Eastern England. At the time it was done, drolleries were the trend in England.
Eastern England, they say, as they show that picture of that thing that looked like Yoda.
And so the result were these bizarre, absurd, and humorous marginal illustrations in the scroll. I guess the only mystery here is why would someone commission illustrators to draw on such an important document? Number 4, book from a 300-year-old shipwreck.
Yeah, so this really has some fascinating books. And of course, one of the books is a huge book that weighs 160 pounds that is written on like over 100 donkey skins. And this book obviously was for giants. I'm going to see if I can find it real quick, because I was like, wow, really? You can't figure that out, that the Codex Gigas, that this is a book for giants. It was made for a giant. Look at this.
The Codex Gigas literally translates to the giant book, and it's the largest medieval manuscript in the world. Unfortunately, little is known about this book. Codex Gigas, also known as the Devil's Bible, has a staggering length of 36 inches, a width of about 20 inches, and a thickness of about 8 inches. Unlike the books that you can freely carry, the Codex Gigas weighs 165 pounds. It's not really surprising, considering it's made of about 300 layers of vellum made from the skin of 160 donkeys. Let me tell you, that's a lot. So if you were to guess how long it took for the author to finish writing and illustrating the contents of this enormous book, how long would you have guessed? A few months, a year, or several years? It's only expected that it took a long time before this book was completed. And yet, according to historians, the Devil's Book was completed in just a few hours. A monk at the Benedictine monastery of Podlazice in the Czech Republic was the author of this gigantic book. One day, the monk was sentenced to prison and was set to be walled to death the next day. Desperate and afraid, the monk pleaded for his life to be spared. In exchange for freedom, he told the monastery that he would write a book that contained all human knowledge by the next morning. And knowing that this is an impossible feat, the monastery agreed. Everyone thought that the monk's death was guaranteed. And yet the next morning, they all saw the completed Codex Gigas. At the time, it had more than 620 pages. But as years passed by, only 310 pages remain intact today.
How convenient.
As promised, the monastery granted the monk his freedom. And on the first page of the book, there was even an inscription about it being pledged to the monastery in Sedlec. The Codex Gigas contains the Christian Bible, several Jewish texts, an encyclopedia by Saint Isidore of Seville, and the Chronicles of Bohemia. It also contains texts about medical practices, penitence, rituals, and exorcisms. But the highlight of the book is the illustration of the devil himself. This was drawn by the monk to honor the one that helped him accomplish the entire book in just a few hours. It's easy to believe that this is all just a story to push the book further into greatness. But you see, modern analysis suggests that it's indeed true. This entire book was written by one individual alone, and the handwriting suggests that it was done in just one sitting. Could it be that this book was created by the devil himself? Perhaps we'll never know.
Yeah, very strange indeed. But I had to share all this high strangeness, especially the levitation, because it ties into what I am actually traversing in hermetics right now. And knowing that our entire world surrounds around consciousness, and the levels of consciousness, whether unaware or highly aware, are access to these higher realms of, capabilities. So found it very interesting, had to share this. I will put these 2 links to these other videos in the description box, so that way you guys can check these out, because they're pretty amazing.